Although Xiao Yin had long known from his master Jinlong King that this emperor's blood essence, Su Shuiying, was inevitable, when Su Shuiying said this, she couldn't help but have a black line. Starting from defeating the Seven Guardians, the two of them absorbed the troubles caused by the black and white yin and yang hearts respectively. After they got the terrifying skeleton in the stone room, imagine that this was the result of their joint efforts, but in the end, it was cheaper for Su Shuiying and Xiao. It also sank his eyes. Xiao Yan, who was originally aching, was also overjoyed when he heard that Su Shuiying took away the blood of the emperor, but had to make an agreement with herself. Why are there no traces of the Xiao clan on the Dodi continent? And what is Su Shuiying and the others guarding? The unsolved mysteries have always puzzled Xiao Yan, and now hearing Su Shuiying say this, she can't help but turn her head and stare at her. She must know something. What is the relationship between you and my family? Xiao Yan also asked passionately. If he knew the reason, it would be much easier to walk in Dodi continent, and he wouldn't be like a headless fly. Sorry, I can't tell you this for now. Su Shuiying also refused directly. Sure enough, it still doesn't work. Xiao Yan muttered to himself, and then his fiery gaze also subsided. Then what is the agreement you're talking about? Xiao Yan also returned to normal and said to Su Shuiying, although the master said that if I meet someone who has the lines on your forehead when I go out, I will bring it back to the family at all costs, and we will protect the extremely important things and return them to your hands. Su Shuiying said slightly. At that moment, the blood-red blood essence that was lying quietly on her jade hand was also collected into a jade bottle by her, and the blood-red essence and blood seemed to be lying in the jade bottle very well behaved. After doing all this, Su Shuiying continued. However, the things we're guarding involve too much, and you can't fight against it at the moment. Su Shuiying also wrinkled her beautiful eyes slightly. Although saying this does have some blows to Xiao Yan, but the fact is that he is still too weak. Some things are still unknown. Damn it. Then what do you mean? Xiao Yan also said angrily. What kind of medicine does Su Shuiying sell in the gourd? She used to have the strength to suppress Xiao Yan before, and now she has taken away the blood of the emperor alone. The mystery between her and her Xiao clan has not been explained clearly, and Xiao Yan is indeed a little angry. Su Shuiying also seemed to have noticed Xiao Yan's sudden change in face, and then spoke up. However, I believe that those who can be recognized as masters by the Fire Elves are definitely not mediocre. It's 100 years, and 100 years from now. If you reach Do Immortal, you have the strength to protect that thing. You can burn this lotus leaf to call me, and I will take you. Go back, let you know everything you want to know, and let you take back what belongs to you. If you don't reach it, then it means that you don't have the ability to protect it. I will naturally carry that thing for you, and you will continue to be your prodigal son. Su Shuiying said that the green lotus platform that her jade feet stepped on is a lotus. Yi then flew straight toward Xiao Yan, taking the lotus leaf. An icy feeling hit, and then it was carefully placed into the ring, as if she was carefully looking at what Su Shuiying said. The lifespan of a normal person is 100 years, excluding birth, old age, sickness, and death, and the lifespan of strong Dodi is also quite long. 100 years is only 1/5, and the appearance of a strong Dodi will also last until it reaches 400. It will only age after a few years. Emperor Do has a long lifespan of 500 years. It is said that the lifespan of breaking through Do Immortal will increase to 1,000 years. In 100 years, it would be enough for a normal person to break through 4 or 5 stars on the basis of the original Dodi, but this is only for normal people. It is quite difficult to improve each level of a Dodi powerhouse. It could take a few years in the short term and decades in the long run. Xiaoyan's current strength is the peak of the 3-star Do Di, and he is still quite a distance away from that Do Xian. The distance. As a result, the 100-year agreement is only 1/5 of the time for the Do Di strong, but it will soon pass. Xiaoyan is only in his 30s now. Even after 100 years, he still looks like a young man, which is a good time for cultivation. Why don't you just promise her? Xiao Yanzi, you should also know that the breakthrough from the peak of Samsung Do Di to Do Xian in 100 years is nothing but nonsense to others. But you are different. You are practicing Fenju. You can make continuous progress with the help of the power of Holy Flame. This agreement is not too bad. The Golden Dragon King is a dragon family, and the Golden Dragon King has the purest blood power. For him, 100 years' time is just a nap time. Hearing what his master, the Golden Dragon King, said, Xiaoyan couldn't help but have black lines all over his head. Sure enough, the lifespan of the demon beasts and dragons is very long. How are you thinking? Su Shuiying looked at Xiaoyan, whose complexion was constantly changing. I promise you, 100 years agreement. Xiaoyan also looked at Su Shuiying with a smile. Some things must be protected with enough strength. This point does not need Su Shuiying and her master Jinlong Wang to tell Xiaoyan that Xiaoyan also knows that what he has suffered on Duty Continent does not want to come again. Then it's settled. Su Shuiying is also happy to see this state. Otherwise, if Xiaoyan insists on arguing for the blood of the emperor, then a war will inevitably be fought. Although she is not afraid of Xiaoyan, it is always the case. The people of the Xiao clan, even if they are a little weaker. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the two of them spoke, the stone room was swaying as if it was about to be stomped. In this case, the little girl will take the first step, and there will be a period later. Su Shuiying said. The green lotus on her feet also exuded bursts of cyan flames, wrapping Su Shuiying, and then she tore out a small space with her hands, a string of smoke. Entering it, he disappeared into the stone room. Goodbye, breaking through to Do Xian in 100 years. I think it's nonsense. I will naturally shoulder that thing for you. Su Shuiying muttered to herself when she entered the space crack. However, these words were listened to by the Golden Dragon King without a word, and then passed on to Xiaoyan as they were. Damn, what about cheating labor and capital? Xiaoyan was also furious when he heard this. Ha-ha, Xiaoyanzi, don't worry, I said that you can achieve it if you can. At that time, this arrogant woman will have to re-examine you. The Golden Dragon King also laughed loudly. Xiaoyan was slightly angry, and then he calmed down after cultivation. A bright smile appeared on his originally ugly face, and he slowly opened his mouth while staring at the place where Su Shuiying disappeared. Since you think I can't reach it, then I'll show it to you. 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Heshi. Don't bully the poor. Not to mention 100 years. Master, let's go too. Since the emperor's blood has been taken away, the ruins are about to collapse. Xiaoyan also looked at the space that was about to collapse, and then waved his palm. The many precious medicinal materials in the stone chamber will receive the ring on his finger. Go, little Yanzi, you actually left such a precious thing here. The Golden Dragon King also laughed and scolded. Could it be? Hearing this, Xiaoyan also looked around at the bare stone room, and then turned his gaze to the place where the frozen skeleton was. The originally frozen skeleton also slowly melted after Su Shuiying left. The blood of the emperor who provided the energy was taken away. The skeleton also lost its vitality and was bleak. The power of... That's right. This skeleton of a strong man who is as strong as the peak of the 7-star Do Emperor will also be of great use in the future. If nothing else, just resurrecting and refining the body. This Emperor skeleton is a good thing that can't be found. Plus, with other tyrannical materials, if the refining is successful, the strength is also terrifying. The Golden Dragon King also looked at the jade-white, complete skeleton thoughtfully. Resurrection. Hearing the words of his master, the Golden Dragon King, Xiao Yan was also stunned for a moment, and then he remembered an important event in Dochi continent. Now, I am just a remnant soul, and even from a certain point of view, even the remnant soul is not a bit of a remnant. If it wasn't for the strangeness of the heavenly tomb, I would have dissipated between heaven and earth early on. Resurrection. I am afraid it should be impossible. Is there really no way? At least I don't know how to revive me. Maybe the legendary Do Di can do it. Xiao Xian shook his head with a smile, looked at Xiao Yan in front of him. The smile on his face suddenly became softer, and said, "You can achieve such an achievement without relying on the power of blood. To be honest, it makes me quite gratified. The boy of my Xiao clan is always extraordinary." Xiao Yan still remembers the time when he met his ancestor Xiao Xian in Tianmu, and with the help of the latter, he regained the power of the Xiao family's bloodline, and then stepped into the soul of the emperor with the help of his ancestors. Thinking of these, I can't help but recall the scene when I was in the sky. Master, when I was on the Dochi continent, I lost an ancestor. If I want to revive him, his own master, the Golden Dragon King, was also an absolutely trustworthy person, so Xiao Yan gave it all. The things of the ancient times are irrelevant, and no one understands why it is so difficult to cultivate to the level of Do Di. When the ancestor Xiao Xian reached the peak of the late 9, star Do Sheng, he tried to attack that illusory level, but in the end, however, in those repeated failures, the ancestors also made a discovery. Back then, the strength of the ancestors was enough to really hit the Emperor Do. However, every time the ancestors were about to break through the barrier, a feeling of emptiness would emerge from the depths of the soul. This feeling of emptiness. Let the ancestors understand that in the process of attacking the Emperor Do level, I seem to be missing something. This kind of thing is extremely critical. If I can get it, breaking through to the Emperor Do should not be false. When the Golden Dragon King heard the words, the amount of information was a bit large, and then he frowned slightly, thinking about what Xiao Yan just said in his mind. This little Yanzi came from the same plane as the ancient Emperor Tuasha. With a life and death relationship between the Golden Dragon King and Tuasha, it is natural to know that the Do Chi continent lacks the original source Chi to attack the Emperor. Power does not exist for an upper plane like Do Di continent. Moreover, Do Chi continent is a lower plane. All cultivations start from the bottom Do Chi, Doja, Dosher, Dosher, Do Ling, Do Wang, Do Huang, Do Zun Holy, Do Di. Among so many ranks, Xiao Yanzi, the ancestor Xiao Xuaning, cultivated to the peak of Do Chi continent, the peak of the late 9, star Do Sheng, and found that he still lacked a vital source Chi to attack the Do Emperor. From this kind, it is enough to see, given the extraordinariness of this person, even with the critical eyes of the Golden Dragon King, he could not help but respect Xiao Yanzi, his ancestor. Resurrection is not impossible. Refining the body is a skill of your pharmacists. The Golden Dragon King also said slowly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's eyes also became hot. The ancestor, Xiao Xian, had some kind of grace for Xiao Yan. 3 mysterious transformations of heavenly fire. The terrifying power of flame emanated from Xiao Yan's body, and then Xiao Yan was urging the blood vessels in his body, and a mysterious rune slowly appeared on his forehead. The mysterious Xiao clan rune appeared, and then a small gray light spot also fell from Xiao Yan's forehead to his palm. Looking at this imprint of life, Xiao Yan also let out a sigh of relief, lowered his head, and glanced at the Golden Dragon King who was floating in front of him. This gray mark of life is impressively when Xiao Yan was in the sky. Looking at the place where Xiao Xian disappeared, he murmured softly, and immediately stretched out his palm, facing the empty space lightly. He held it lightly, and with the grip of his palm, an invisible gray light spot that ordinary people could not see appeared in his hand. This is Xiao Xian's life imprint. This kind of life imprint can only be entered by the soul. Only the powerhouse of the Emperor realm can see it. Otherwise, even if his Do Qi has reached the late stage of the 9-star Do Shang, he will not be able to sense this mysterious existence. From a certain point of view, the original Xiao Xian has basically disappeared. The supreme powerhouse who once dominated the Do Qi continent has completely dissipated in this world. However, this is for Xiao, who has stepped into the soul of the Emperor. For Yin, this is not the case. This imprint of life may be able to give Xiao Xian life again, but this method, even Xiao Yin, whose soul entered the Emperor realm when he was in Do Qi continent, could not do it. Perhaps when he truly enters the legendary Do Di realm in the future, he will be able to do so. In the palm of his hand, the invisible imprint of life slowly rose, and the queen got into Xiao Yan's eyebrows, guarded by his vast soul power like heaven and earth. Perhaps, after a long time, this man gave everything for the Xiao family. The old man can also reappear in the world. This is always a kind of hope. Although it is far away, it makes people's hearts burn. However, although Xiao Yin did not have the ability to revive the ancestor Xiao Xian at the beginning, but now Xiao Yin has broken through the shackles of Do Di, successfully promoted to Do Di, and his soul power is also improving. I believe that the resurrection ancestor Xiao Xian will not be able to his nonsense. Master, what materials do you need to refine the body in this Do Di continent? Xiao Yin also found that the Do Di continent and Do Qi continent were unusual, so he suddenly remembered what he had promised ancestor Xiao Xian and then said directly,